Hi friends, so I'm going to show you how to cast on to have the blanket work away from you, and then I'm also going to show you just a simple knit stitch and how to cast off. So first you want to start with a simple slip knot. You can make this however you prefer. I personally like to make it so my tail will move rather than my working yarn because I like to tighten my slip knot when I'm a couple rows down in my blanket. So you'll want to make the slip knot about 3 fingers wide. So now to work away from you, you're going to take that slip knot and place it on the back side of the first peg, and then you'll take your working yarn around the front side of the peg. You'll then bring it in between the first 2 pegs and you'll pull it through that slip knot loop. You'll want to make this loop reach the next peg, and then you'll bring that working yarn in between the pegs again, and that will make a new loop. And you'll just keep pulling these loops long enough to reach that next peg, and then going in between with the working yarn, pulling that through. Once you reach the width of the blanket, you'll either place that loop directly on that last peg, or you can knit one and then place that on the peg. So once you reach your desired widths, take that last loop and place it on the peg. And if you're knitting through every stitch, you want to make sure that that working yarn is on the outside of that last peg. Now to do a simple knit stitch, you just pull off your first loop, and underneath you're going to pull through a new loop and place that back on that peg. And with your working yarn, you can pull that a little bit tighter so it hugs the peg. You don't want this to be too tight, you want it to be just a little bit loose so you can still slide it off the peg easily. So again, picking up that loop from underneath, we're going to pull up a new loop and then place that back on the peg. And you will just keep doing this down the row. After you've knit through every single loop, we will move on to the next row. And moving on to the next row, again, taking that loop, pull that loop off, pull the working yarn through, pull the loop off of the peg, pull the working yarn through from underneath, and place it back on the peg, pulling the working yarn to tighten that loop as we go. So that is all you have to do for the simple knit stitch. I like to go back and pull my starting tail just to tighten that first stitch, and then you can continue knitting just how I've shown you, and then I'm going to show you how to cast off here after a couple of rows. And now I'm going to teach you how to cast off. You're just going to knit a regular stitch through this first loop, and then instead of placing that back on the peg, you are just going to leave it out. Optionally, you can hold on to it, and the next loop, you'll pull up a loop that's about 3 fingers wide or double the size of your previous loop. You'll take that second loop and pull it through your first loop. You'll take the loop off the next peg, knit through that one, making that one about 3 fingers wide. You'll pull that through the previous loop, and then you will continue doing this until the very end. And after you've done that last loop, you should still have one loop remaining. So we're going to trim our working yarn, leaving a tail that's just a couple inches long. And then you want to pull that tail yarn through your last remaining loop, and then you'll pull that nice and tight. And after this, all you will have to do is secure your tail ends. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can either weave the tail through your blanket, you can tie a double knot and trim the yarn, or you can do the fuse method where you trim the yarn and burn it to your blanket. So here, I'm just going to tie a little knot, weave it through 1 or 2 times, trim my working yarn, and then fuse it to the blanket. If you're making a full blanket, just make sure you go back and you take care of that beginning tail, but this is what it would look like. Make sure you check out our other videos, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or send us a message.